Hi, my name's Katie Reining, and the following is a persuasive speech about organ donation reform. Walter is a 56-year-old father with ALS. His lifespan is projected to be about 5 more years, and he wanted to save a life by donating a kidney, according to his doctors Joshua Mesrich and Joseph Scalia in an April 2015 Atlantic article. Knowing that living kidneys last longer than dead kidneys, he set out to make sure that his body was put to use before it deteriorated, and asked the doctors to take his kidney while he was still alive. Yet hospital insurance denied him because they deemed he was a risk. 2 years later, Walter returned with a signed letter from his physician stating that he would survive the surgery without major issue. And again, he was denied. The two doctors state that for months we have been turning Walter's case over and over in our minds, and we keep coming back to the same conclusion: that we are just not as courageous as he is. Despite the fact that DonateLife.org, updated daily, tells us that 22 Americans die every day because they cannot receive their desperately needed organs in time, for some, not due to medical reasons, they are unable to donate. In the past, you've probably heard speeches about organ donation from the angle of needing more donors. However, what this speech focuses on today is removing the roadblocks that are currently in place that hinder those who are already registered from donating. So today we will examine 4 problems, and since each problem has its own content-specific solutions, we examine solutions alongside it. Because we owe it to 120,000 Americans who, like my father every day for 2 years, pray that they don't join the 22 a day that don't make it. Terry Sclaven was a 49-year-old banker who was in a terrible car accident. He was never going to recover and was being kept alive by machines. Both his living will and his wife stated that he wanted not to be kept alive, but to donate any and all of his viable organs. His request was denied, and doctors refused to take any of his organs for donation. So then what stopped them? The answer is our first problem: the dead donor rule, a seemingly common sense rule that states that organs should only be taken from those who are dead. According to ethicist James Leonard Park in his 2014 paper, The Dead Donor Rule, How Dead Do You Have to Be?, this law prohibits donation from those who are not yet dead, but will be very soon. According to a survey published by the Journal of Medical Ethics in 2015, 76% of people stated that in the event of an irreversible coma, with organ removal becoming their cause of death, such as Terry, they would be comfortable donating their organs. 76% of people are willing to donate under these conditions, yet this rule makes sure no one is able to. To solve our first problem, we need to challenge our legal definition of death and do away with the dead donor rule to adopt what medical ethicist Robert Vitak calls imminent death donation. This new rule would allow people such as Terry to donate their organs. Not only are the organs taken from the imminently dead of higher quality, but the risk associated with transplantation decreases significantly, according to the previously cited Journal of Medical Ethics. I have a card here with a link to a petition you can sign to let our government know that we want to donate our organs and that this new rule needs to be instated. Our second problem is even more troubling. 19-year-old Courtney Fleer tragically passed away in a car accident in December 2015 in Kentucky. She was a registered organ donor, and her parents were made aware of her wishes. The medical examiners, however, were not. According to the December 19, 2015 Kiddies report, it is estimated that Courtney's donation of viable valves, large bones, and soft tissues could have saved as many as 50 people. Unlike doctors, medical examiners are not required to check databases to see if the deceased is an organ donor, nor are they required to alert organ procurement organizations. Unfortunately, the current wording of this law states that medical examiners may release this information, but because they don't have to, they often don't. Courtney's parents are at the forefront of changing this law from saying that medical examiners may release this information to must release. And their law becomes part of our solution. We must not only adopt Courtney's law, but also go a step further to say that medical examiners must also notify organ procurement organizations. On the card is a link where you can select your state to see their current wording of this policy. If your state does not require medical examiners to check databases, please get in touch with your state officials and point them to Courtney's law, because we have the capability to save so many lives. We just have to make sure that those organs aren't left on the roadside. The Huffington Post of April 16, 2016 tells the story of Tanya Gibson Clark, a 55-year-old Juilliard-trained dancer who died waiting for a liver. The reason? None of the livers guaranteed her a 95% chance of survival within the next year. You see, one of the ways doctors determine which organs are suitable for transplant is by measuring their projected success rate. According to The Atlantic, in January of 2016, it is estimated that about 10% of donated livers go unused each year. So ask yourselves, if your dying loved one had an 85% chance of survival, as opposed to a 95% chance, would you be okay with that? I would, because even at a 10% decrease, an 85% chance of survival is still better than zero. The solution here is as simple as lowering the projected success rate from 95 to 85%. And yes, the 85% number may seem arbitrary, and it is, but so is 95. The point is, if we are going to pick a number, we should pick one that allows for more people to donate and receive their organs. The Organ Protocol Network is currently looking into making these changes, and luckily, they want our feedback. On the card is a link to their public comment section, where you can read through their policies and make your opinions known. Now, it's not an easy read since it is a horrible combination of medicalese and legalese, but if we are going to make changes for people like Tanya, then we have to let our voices guide their policies. Finally, there are problems that require personal action. Many states offer organ donation education as part of driver's ed. So when we sign our donor cards at the DMV, we think, that's that, and we're a donor. However, as we have seen today, this is often not the case. The problem is that doctors often listen to the wishes of the family members, as opposed to the donor themselves. According to Dr. Roy Reeves at Medscape.com on October 22, 2016, families refuse to donate at least 5,000 suitable organs each year that end up getting buried in the ground. The solutions here are simple. First, call your family. Seriously, after this speech is over, call your parents and other loved ones and tell them specifically about your wishes to be an organ donor. Tell your coaches, teammates, and friends too. Anyone who might be around when you die from over-practicing these speeches. Obviously, this requires you to be an organ donor, so if you're not, there's a link on the card that you can complete in less than 2 minutes. Second, take one of these bracelets. In the event of an accident, it will let medical examiners know your wishes. Even though they're handmade, the caduceus is a widely recognized medical alert symbol, and medical examiners often check wrists for these sort of bands. Even if you have your registration on your ID or your phone, it's always good to duplicate. And finally, host an education drive at your university. Driver's ed happens way too young, and some organs can't even be donated then. Visit your Secretary of State's website in order to find a list of resources applicable to your community. While some solutions will take time, planning, and legislation to fix, please recognize that simply signing up to be an organ donor does not guarantee that you will donate organs and save lives. It is as simple as being vocal about your wishes now, so others can be vocal on your behalf later. While it would be nice to have 100% of Americans be organ donors, we should start by making sure that the 40% that are can actually donate. On August 17, 2015, my dad received a heart transplant. After 8 months of life support, dozens of hospital stays, and hours upon hours spent worrying about the outcome. His story is a happy one, but only because of the selflessness of a donor and the ability of that donor to fulfill his final wishes. Because of him, I get many more years with my dad. So let's not let the odd nuances of bureaucracy prevent others from having their loved ones around them too.